Okay, so I have had the fortunate opportunity to be introduced to these two fine people sitting here. I met Nancy last year when Planon came on as a diamond sponsor at the 11th hour and came up. And was anybody here last year for Nancy's keynote? She rocked it, right? Rocked it. Yeah. So as a result of that, when we met, she said, I'd love you to come to Boston to the Higher Ed Symposium. Let's continue this relationship. And it was at that point that I met Fred. Fred's special. He's very special. And you're going to learn about how special he is, hopefully, during the next 20 minutes. But their solution is, it's eloquent. And I'm excited for you to learn more about their IWS if you're not aware of it, and just to enjoy the next 20 minutes. So I would like to introduce Fred. It's pronounced Guelen, isn't it? Guelen. Yeah. So he's the president of the North America operations and the CEO for Planon Corporation, and Nancy Sanquist is the VP for global strategic marketing for the Planon. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you had a great lunch. Michelle, and to start, I want to thank CFTA and Michelle. I think we are having here a great conference, and CFTA is doing an incredible job to strengthen the position and the role of facility management. When I heard the great presentation of my friend Nick from the UK this morning, I thought, ooh, wow, that was good. How am I going to match that? So I'm very happy that this grand lady, my VP of Global Marketing, Nancy, is helping me out today. I think at the end where we are facing, it's all about ambition. It's all about ambition and the willingness to change. Willingness to change. What are drivers of change? What is that is making people every time again to change? I think generally you see economical reasons, political reasons, social reasons, and technology reasons that are typically drivers of change. I think translating that to higher education, we see huge deferred maintenance. We see a changing population of students. Looking at it will not only be people from 18 to 24, 25, there will be a continuous learning from people coming back to the university during their entire life. It also is, there are changing expectations from people coming to universities. I think already the word student experience, student satisfaction are words that are buzzing around much more. And above all, what is driving the change is the digital transformation that we are facing. Digital transformation, by the way, that is not only happening in our facility world. The digital transformation in higher ed institutions you see, of course, also in your core business of educating students. The way how students are now being taught and will be educated in the coming future, in the coming years, will change dramatically. And then, of course, the question is, how do you see the future? How do you see change? Do you see especially a lot of dark clouds that you should be afraid of all that change? Or do you see a bright future coming up? I think it's very important to give that some thought and just, where do I stand? Do I see those dark clouds, or do I see that bright sky popping up at the end of the road? The problem at the moment, to be honest, when we read newspapers, when we watch television, there's pretty much going on. We are living in times where we see more change than we have ever seen before. It seems indeed that everything is changing. Jobs disappear. New skills are required. Who ever thought that a higher education institution would have a pilot flying drones or operate drones? New business models appear. Some industries are becoming completely obsolete and disappear. It is another example. You look at banks nowadays. A bank has transformed from being on every corner, has transformed to a software company. What is going to happen in that transformation in higher ed? The future will learn. But what we do see as a very important, strong driver of this change is that incredible, powerful new technologies are coming up. Those new technologies will affect our lives. And my question to all of you is, are we ready for that? Are we really prepared to face and confront all that change? When you talk about change and when you think about that, are we ready, are we prepared? Then let's see what happens during a change process. You might all know this curve. What is happening to us and what is happening to others during a change process? Well, definitely we all have been in one or two or all of those phases. And we have seen it around us. But knowing this is not uncertain. These phases will happen in every single process of change. The denial phase, oh, why would we change? There is no need for change. We are doing this already for many years and all those things will fly by. Yeah? And then, at a certain moment, the depression will come. And then, that's not a nice part of a change process. It's pretty awkward, actually. Huh? But at that point, and as leaders and as the project initiators, we have to show what we are really worth. We have not only to guide ourselves through that depression and through that crisis, but also everybody who is affected and involved. But happily, there is that bright sky of every change process, and that is that there will be, if we do it well, there will be an acceptance and new confidence. We are talking here about change management, and my experience in whatever project, the number one reason for a failed project is no appropriate change management. Change management doesn't start when the project starts, it starts already far earlier by informing and communicating and telling the people and explaining why the change is going to happen and why it is necessary. So again, my point here is no denial. Just prepare for these change processes. A person who has a very large influence at the moment in the world is this Mr. This is Mr. Klaus Schwab. He is the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. Once a year, all the leaders in the world come together in Davos in Switzerland. And he has spent considerable time on studying, researching of what is going on in the world right now. He has published a book that he holds up here, and that I really recommend that book. It is a great book addressing more or less all the main topics that are happening in the world right now. The book does not contain a lot of answers, but especially addressing the topics and expressing the challenges that we are facing. This book, there have been a lot of contributions from people from the World Economic Forum, but also from almost all leading universities in the world, large business leaders, and the influencers on all kinds of areas. It gives a great overview of what we are facing, what we have ahead, and the enormity of the challenges that we see. He calls it that we are at the beginning of a true revolution. And just let that sink in. that is fundamentally changing the way we live, work, and relate to one another. I think already this morning, I think it was Nick who gave an example about his children, how they communicate with their friends. It's just a very small example. But there will be an enormous change in how we live, work, and relate to one another. That, in perspective of current a social and political systems that we see failing in the world. We see, in fact, also low trust in governments, in businesses, in media. And what we see globally is a very fragile social cohesion. So in the midst of all that, what we see in the world, we have all those changes that are coming to us. When you think also about changes and the way we are organized in this world, just think about it that most governance structures, whether in government or in businesses or in our society, are based on the Middle Ages. Some things even go back to the Roman Empire. You would be surprised how many legal concepts that are still here today were already invented in the Roman Empire times. So it is affecting us, and it will greatly affect us. Basically, he also identifies these 12 key tech tools that are driving this. I think all of them you also could see in one of the slides of Nick this morning. But just read through it. It is in every sector it will have that effect and impact, that incredible impact on our lives, on our economy, on health, on environment, how we work, and how we will be organized. Those technologies will help us to gain incredibly new insights, to make new connections, to make use of new possibilities. What is common in all these things and what them unite is that they are so incredibly powerful. Because they all, in one way or the other, are dealing with big data and software technology. So in one word, and I promise you it will get better, but in one word, we are looking at a huge disruption. So what to do? Shall we just quit and give up? Or shall we join and follow Nick's and the great example I heard this morning from the Ohio State University to pick up those challenges and to go working with them? So let's just join, because we all care. We all care, and therefore for us quitting is not an option. We should look at the great opportunities and we should call for action. We should learn about the new technologies. We should understand the new technologies. We should pilot the new technologies, and at the end, use them and scale them. So what it will mean is that we are able to transform the role of facility managers into a real technology-driven profession. So I was sold this morning by Nick's conclusion when he just walked through what was happening with all those new technologies. So let's aim for the best. Let's try to become top performers in this area. Because I want to share with you, I'm not joining a game to just be mediocre. Huh? Let's show ambition and let's become those top performers. Why? Why would we do that? Just for ourselves? No, we don't do that for ourselves. We do that at the end for our ultimate end users, our ultimate end clients, the students. The students, we have to do it for them. Everything what we do should be directed by that. Why? They are our future leaders. We carry there a huge responsibility. So, and then a question for us is IWMS still, does it still matter in the future? Does it have a place? Well, perhaps not surprisingly, but we think yes. Because an IWMS, a lot of times, is not only the beginning, but also the end of everything. We need a system where things, data, processes come together. A system that acts as a command and control center. A system that is a virtual place to go to for information, retrieving or giving, for requests, for instruction. A system that is acting as a digital organizer and processor of tasks. And finally, a system that acts as a toolbox for the people who are having to do the work. But a system in IWMS as it was is changing. We need now an I² WMS, as we call it, because it's not only integrated, but also it should interact with all the new technologies. This morning, and already it was discussed with, for examples of BIM, the GIS, it all needs to interact together. So at the end, it is a platform of where places, people, processes come together with the technology. A true nexus of forces. All those things are getting closer than we think. We see the adoption of all those new technologies accelerating at a very fast pace.
Good afternoon. So the one thing that we can't forget, though, in all of this discussion of technology, are the people. And these are actually our customers at Cal State University, San Luis Obispo, which has one of the most extraordinary environmental programs, I think, in the world. And we call these the thought leaders in this revolution. How many of you are aware of the Sustainable Development Goals? Get aware of them, because they're really, really key. Fred and I had never heard of them until we went to a management conference in Nijmegen last year. And it was an incredible presentation by an MIT professor. And at the end, he put this slide up, and we all looked at each other. What are all these lively-looking squares? What does it mean? In 2016, 192 countries came together and determined what were the 17 most important goals for a sustainable planet and sustainable practices. And they came up with this slide that you see here. We have adopted them as a company, and I encourage all of your universities to adopt them too. And while they may seem like overarching goals that has nothing to do with FM, they actually do, and I'll give you a few examples. The first one, this year I'm chair of the IFMA, the International Facility Management Association Foundation. And one of the things we do is certify university programs in FM. We have 32 of them now. I think I mentioned it actually last year. FAMU, which is Florida A&M University, one of the historic black colleges, has an incredible FM program in the business school. And what these students have done is partner with the Venom Foundation. And not only are they teaching grade schoolers the profession of FM, while they teach them tennis. Now that's a real surprise, I would think. But also nutrition. So indeed, we can affect poverty. In the Netherlands, we've joined forces with 5 other businesses, and we're researching with the professors and his students at Hansa University in terms of the effect of sensors and sensing environments, but on individuals and productivity. So that is obviously one of the goals, is good health and well-being. At Cal State University, San Luis Obispo, which I mentioned before,
they've just installed 18.5 solar farm, and this is going to save them $10 million in over 20 years. It's one of the largest projects, actually, in this state. Oh, the other thing that they do, which we really love about the Cal State University system, they learn by doing. So there's students and professors working on the solar farm and monitoring its performance. At Chaffey College, which is a small community college in the California community college system, in a rather poor area of the state in San Bernardino, we have this first program for bringing certification of FM to the community college system in that state. And they're actually teaching physics by using the central plant as a laboratory, which is giving great data for FM as well as teaching students in a real environment. Brown University is an example, I think, of actually with one project covering 3 of these sustainability goals in terms of resilience of infrastructure, reuse of buildings, sustainable environments, having partnerships with your community that we've talked about before, and then strengthening the means and implementation and revitalization for sustainable development. It's a wonderful project in the city of Providence where they partnered with an alumni who was also a developer, as well as another university, to bring nursing and culinary arts into this revitalized power plant. And they also moved administrative functions there also. And this is part of, every time you renovate a building, you're able to bring it back to life. That's part of the sustainable development goals. And that was actually inspiration for us. We created a Sustainable Development Goals and Trends game for our last higher education symposium in Boston. And there's Monty working on, he had the reuse of a building in a rural environment. And there's Nat from Michigan State University working on a high-rise with a plan that I can't even begin to tell you was so exciting. Fred?
Yeah. Well, I will quickly wrap up, Michelle. Yeah, what it is, when you look at all this, I think we are living in extremely exciting times. And I have, in the last couple of years, seeing all those developments, I developed a dream. And what it is all about collaboration. It is collaboration on a global scale and on an operational level at universities. It is, and how to do that. You know, Nick already talked about it as well a little bit this morning. But it is, we call it how to form that, how to organize that. We call it to set up. And that's my dream, to set up globally a number of centers of excellence. Again, on an operational level. And what should that center do? It should share best practices for business process improvement. It should share experiences. Why every university has to reinvent the wheel? It is the copy-paste that we heard this morning. Why let we participate in pilots? Bring together, one university does this, another university does something else, and we will be able to exponentially increase innovation and renewal. Share resources. I hear every time again when I'm at universities, lack of resources. Well, let's share them. Also, partners. There are some great technology partners here. Why every single university has to do the same selection process? Just share those results. Share who are in the market. With whom do we have good experiences? So it is form that community. And at the end also, you know, what the Ohio State University, the needs of Ohio State University, are they really that different than Dartmouth or Brown or any other university? Based on our experience, they're not. You may use sometimes a different word or a different process, but that is, so we can use those things. So in my view, the best answer to all these very challenging dynamics where we live in is collaboration, and is to make sure that we, over time, that we that we are able to find the right solutions for the challenges that we are facing. And again, I want to end with a why. Why we are all doing that. Because thus, in that manner, we will have a major contribution to the changes that we are living in. And in that contribution, don't forget, that I am always jealous, about all the universities. Your clients are the students, the human beings of tomorrow. And we have to make sure that they will not only enter into a good world, but that they will be able to govern the world in the appropriate way, for example, using those development goals. And I want to live in a world where we actually can live in, where we have safety, and where we have a safe environment. And I believe with all of us here together, and with all the technologies that are popping up, and with all the changes that we face, we can do that. I am very proud to be part of that. Thank you very much.